For crying out loud, what is it with my family and creepy stuff always happening to us? Oh, sorry, let me elaborate. I am Sally Goodman, one of the three Goodman siblings. The other two are John Goodman and Henry Goodman, my brothers. Lately, freaky things have been happening to us. First, John gets haunted by some insane ghost hag. Then, a freaky mutant girl's face is staring through Henry's living room window. I prayed to God that nothing would happen to the third of the Goodman siblings. But nope, something just had to happen to me, because I guess the world hates me. Alright, enough of my self-pity, on with my story. Well, I had moved into an apartment in Dayton, Ohio. I was unpacking my things and so forth. There was a small storage room by the patio of the apartment, and I opened the door to put some things in there. It seemed to be empty and I walked in. Then I looked down the floor and saw I had almost stepped on a black USB drive. I picked it up and stuck it in my pocket. I was curious as to why it was left sitting in a storage closet, and also if there was anything on it. I had my laptop with me, so I decided to see for myself later on after I had unpacked a few more things. Well, later on in that day, after I had done all the unpacking for that day, I got out my laptop and turned it on. I didn't have an internet connection, since I still need to get Comcast to transfer my cable and phone services over to my new home. Just in case there's any viruses on the drive, I loaded up Windows XP on a virtual machine. I plugged the USB drive in, and it did the usual auto run, prompting me with what I wanted to do. I chose to open the folder to view the files. What was in the drive seemed to be files for some kind of game. I ignored those files and found the actual game application, which was named Knob.exe. I opened up the file and a new window opened up. It was the game. It seemed to be some kind of 16-bit platformer game. You controlled some stick figure thing and guided him through the levels. There was no title screen or anything. It just went right to the first level. The level was some city streets or something, and you had to avoid the traffic to get through the level. The really weird part was every now and then someone walking along would notice the stick figure and scream bloody murder. The stick figure would then proceed to grab the person and strangle them to death. I got through the first 4 levels, but then I got to the 5th level. Instead of the city street, the stick figure was standing inside a storage room. My heart skipped a beat when I realized where I was. It was a perfect 16-bit replica of the storage room I had found the USB drive in. Without me even moving him, the character walked over to the door and opened it. He went outside, and the scene transitioned to another familiar place. The patio, just outside my apartment. Out of paranoia, I looked through the glass door leading to the apartment patio, and to my horror, somebody was there. It was the most disturbing creature I'd ever seen. He was completely naked and hunched over like a gorilla. He was horribly skinny and so pale. It looked like he'd never seen the light of day in his life. Black fur grew along his spine. His face, he wore an expression of unspeakable malice and insanity. His mouth was 2 times the size of a normal human's mouth. His teeth were huge, and his evil smile stretched up all the way to his forehead. He had long black hair that drooped down to his shoulders. He had claws longer than his fingers, and they looked sharp enough to cut my head clean off. Then, the thing I dreaded the most happened. He looked up at me with these cold, wicked eyes, and that horrible smile. I glanced back at my laptop screen for a second. The stick figure in the game was looking into the glass window door, just as the horrible creature was doing. I looked back. The creature was beckoning me over to him with his bony, clawed index finger. The character in the game was also beckoning. I didn't want to go with this beast. I couldn't. But I had lost control of my body. I got up and walked straight into the clutches of that monster. I tried to run away, but my body fought back. I opened the glass window door and stepped out onto the patio. Being close up to this thing was even worse than seeing him from inside my apartment. He held a map for me to see and pointed out some directions with his wicked sharp claw. Then, he held that claw up to my throat. He sliced. I woke up with a start, sweating and breathing heavily, heart pounding against my ribs like a hammer. It, it was just a dream. After a while of just sitting there, I calmed down. It seemed I had fallen asleep sometime playing the game. I guess it made sense. I had been having trouble sleeping the past few nights, and was probably tired. I looked at the laptop screen. There was a message saying the game had encountered a problem and needed to close. I became curious about the directions the creature gave me in my dream. They were real directions, to a real place, some pond around the area. I decided just for the heck of it, I'd go there tomorrow. I didn't expect to find anything since it was only a dream, but still. The next day after breakfast, I got into my car and followed the directions to the pond. I got there and got out of the car. I skipped some rocks and such for a few minutes. Not having much of a reason to stay, I started to walk back to the car. But then I noticed something on the ground. Out of the corner of my eye, I stopped and went over to examine it. It was a wooden trapdoor of some kind. I remembered the nightmare I had and became paranoid, but then I realized how silly I was being. It was just a dream. Nothing bad can really be here, right? There was a handle in the trapdoor that I could lift open. Cautiously, I grabbed the handle and pulled up to reveal darkness below. I needed a flashlight. I thought I had one in the back of my car. I went to go check, and sure enough, I found one. I turned it on and climbed down into darkness below. The space was empty, with nothing but dirt on all sides. But then, my flashlight shined on something that made my blood run cold. Something that made me sprint back out of the trapdoor, slamming it shut behind me, and back into my car. I drove home and smashed the USB drive I had the day before into tiny pieces, and then burned the pieces. The disturbing part is the hissing sound the drive made when I did this, like some terrible snake. The thing I saw, it was a figure, hunched over like a gorilla, horribly skinny and pale, fur on spine, drooping black hair, insane, deformed face. It was the creature from my nightmare, and he was looking right into my eyes. Well, that one was a bit disturbing, wasn't it? So that's Knob.exe, Creepypasta. If you couldn't have guessed that already by the name. But it was actually really good. Despite having that exe cliche sort of thing, it was done well and told a good story, and it was cool how the monster tied into real life and etc. But either way, I do hope that you enjoyed this creepypasta reading. Please like it if you liked it, and as always, thank you so much for watching.